You know, back when I was like 18 or so, I was so concerned about DC having a good cinematic universe that every time a new movie came out, I would watch that Rotten Tomatoes score like a hawk, only for it to inevitably be like a 12. With bated breath, I awaited. Would DC finally have its day in the sun? And the answer was always no. I would overdose on copium about how the critics were biased and blah blah blah, but now I have accepted that the DCEU has been and always will be considered a sinking ship. We've had some good, some bad, and thank fucking God it's over. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is out, and with it, the DCEU is finally free to go to the big shitty cinematic universe in the sky. Aquaman 2 debuted with a solid and all too familiar 36% on Rotten Tomatoes, making a lump sum of about $6 at the box office. But I kinda liked it. I know I cut these way too many breaks, but what can I say? I'm a bit of a shill, and I just don't think that was really that bad. I am a person who likes the first Aquaman quite a bit. It's extremely stupid and cliche, but visually it slaps, and I have a really fun time watching it. The costume design in it is really good. The acting is pretty bad.
Are you saying they executed her? Because she had me?
The action is fun as hell. It is the perfect turn off your brain and enjoy superhero movie. So I think this movie has a lot of the same issues and some of the same praises as the last one. Overall, it's not quite as good, but I still thought I had a decently fun time. This movie follows Aquaman, who is struggling a bit to balance his duties as king of Atlantis with being a new dad and husband. Black Manta is up to his old shenanigans, and now Aquaman has to team up with his brother Orm, the villain of the last movie, if you don't remember, to take him down. So to start with the elephant in the room, I'm not sure if this is even a hot take at this point, but I've always thought Jason Momoa was miscast as Aquaman. I think he looks great as Aquaman, but I've always read Aquaman as more of a stoic leader type than the weird fusion of Tony Stark and Thor that these movies go with. There were times in the movie where I felt like Patrick Wilson was a better Arthur Curry than the guy playing Arthur Curry. And speaking of Patrick Wilson, he was easily my favorite part of the film. One thing that's so uncommon in superhero movies these days is to have recurring villains that show up in more than one film. And this movie does it with both Ocean Master and Black Manta. I thought what they did with Orm was pretty cool. They fleshed him out a lot more, and his relationship with Arthur is probably the biggest victory that this movie has. On the other hand, Black Manta is brought back and they don't do a single damn interesting thing with him. He's just possessed the whole time, and it's mostly just pretty dull. The story as a whole is just pretty dull, which is fine since I don't desire that much from my Aquaman movie. But while I think that Orm and Arthur are pretty good, the other characters are really left on the sidelines. Mera was our co-lead in the last film, and this time she has pretty much nothing to do. The least they could do is give us a reason for that. Additionally, Aquaman's parents and their relationship felt like something that this movie could and should really explore. Unlike other superheroes, Aquaman has parents that are actually, alive. For the first chunk of this movie, I thought Nicole Kidman didn't bother returning because she wasn't in any of the scenes with Boba Fett. But she shows up like a third in, I guess, and is still with him. They just don't touch on it that much. I think there are some really great looking action set pieces and bits of cinematography, but I think there's one reason this movie fails to stick out in my mind. Aquaman is like barely in the water in this movie. Almost everything happens on land. My favorite parts were all the underwater bits, but there are just not enough of them. The finale is on land. The whole break Orm out of prison is on land. I want some aqua shit in my Aqua Guy movie. The first was good at this, having a nice balance of it that tied in narratively. Arthur loses his first fight with Orm, which is in water, but wins the one that's on land, because that's the one that Arthur is used to. But there were still plenty of underwater sequences and world building that we got to be a part of. This movie would have been a great chance to flesh out the world of Atlantis, but they really just don't. And it's a shame because Atlantis is really visually spectacular while we are there. But there is a little octopus that follows Aquaman around named Topo that I thought was good. No notes there. Admittedly, I just don't have that much to say on this one. Shocking, I know. The movie is a pretty generic DC film with a decent amount of fun to be had. I would say it's like Black Adam tier of DC films. I also like Black Adam. Not because it's a good movie, but because it had enough comic book action to scratch the dumb boy part of my brain. When Aquaman is wearing his accurate orange and green suit and swinging his trident around, all that goes through my brain is, I like Aquaman. And that was enough of an effect to make me buy the Aquaman cup on the way out. What do you think though? Was this movie a fun time, or am I huffing more of the aforementioned copium? Are you glad to see the DCEU is coming to an end? I know I am. And I have a whole video planned to talk about just what went wrong with this wacky, weird little universe, so stay tuned for that.